Have you ever wondered why your elbow can't touch your back, but your hand can reach your head? Welcome to the amazing world of the human body. Today we're going to start a journey into the world of anatomical positions and movements. Just like a puzzle, our body is made up of different pieces, each with its own special place and function. And just like a puzzle, the whole picture only makes sense when all the pieces are in their right places. Understanding the anatomical position is like learning the corners and edges of our body puzzle. It's the starting point that helps us understand how we move, why we move the way we do, and why we can't move in certain ways. It's the key to unlocking the mystery of our body's movements. And now that we've whetted your appetite, are you ready to dive deeper into this fascinating topic? Can you imagine trying to assemble a puzzle without knowing what the pieces are called? That's why we need anatomical vocabulary. Let's dive right into it. First we have anterior and posterior. Anterior refers to the front of the body, while posterior is the back. Think of an ant crawling on your belly. That's anterior. Next up we have superior and inferior. Superior means above and inferior means below. If you wear a crown on your head, it's in a superior position to your feet, which are inferior. Then there's medial and lateral. Medial refers to the middle of the body, while lateral refers to the sides. Imagine a line drawn down the middle of your body. Anything on this line is medial and everything else to the sides is lateral. Finally, we have proximal and distal. These terms are used when we talk about structures closer to or further away from the body's midline. Proximal is closer and distal is further away. If you consider your arm, your shoulder is proximal to your hand because it's closer to your body's midline, while your hand is distal because it's further away. Now let's repeat these terms together. Anterior, posterior, superior, inferior, medial, lateral, proximal, distal. Try using these terms in your daily life. Maybe your sandwich is medial to your chips, or your dog is distal to your cat. Remember, practice makes perfect. The more you use these terms, the more they will feel like second nature. It's just like learning a new language. The more you speak it, the more fluent you become. See, you've just learned a whole new language, but wait, there's more. Now, imagine if your puzzle pieces could spin and rotate. That's where planes and axes of rotation come in. Let's dive into the world of planes and axes of rotation. Think of these as invisible lines and flat surfaces that our bodies move along or around. There are 3 planes and 3 axes we need to know about. First, we have the sagittal plane. This imaginary line divides our body into left and right halves, like slicing a sandwich down the middle. Movements along this plane are usually forward and backward, like nodding your head up and down. Next up is the frontal plane. This one cuts our body into front and back halves. Movings along this plane are side to side, like waving your hand. And finally, the transverse plane slices our body into top and bottom halves. Think of it like a magic trick sawing someone in half. Movements along this plane involve rotation, like twisting your torso. Now let's spin things around with the axes of rotation. These are the invisible lines that our bodies rotate around. First, we have the longitudinal axis. This runs from our head to our toes. And rotation around this axis is like doing a cartwheel. Next is the vertical axis. This runs from front to back, and rotation around this axis is like shaking your head to say no. And finally, we have the horizontal axis. This runs from one side of our body to the other. And rotation around this axis is like doing a forward roll. So, can you think of any other movements that happen along these planes and axes? Maybe a high kick along the sagittal plane, or a side bend along the frontal plane, or perhaps a pirouette along the vertical axis. Wow, our body puzzle is getting more complex, isn't it? But you're doing great. Let's continue to fit the pieces together in the next scene, where we'll explore the 6 types of anatomical movements. Ready to make your puzzle pieces dance? Let's explore the 6 types of anatomical movements. First on our list is flexion. Imagine you're trying to touch your chin with your chest. That's flexion. It's the bending movement that decreases the angle between 2 parts. Next up is extension. It's the opposite of flexion. Let's say you're looking up at the sky. That's an extension. It's a straightening movement that increases the angle between body parts. Then we have abduction. Picture yourself spreading your arms wide as if you're about to give a big hug. That's abduction. It's the movement that pulls a structure away from the midline of the body. The opposite of abduction is adduction. Think of lowering your arms after that big hug. That's adduction. It's the movement that pulls a structure towards the midline. Fifth is rotation. Imagine turning your head to look over your shoulder. That's rotation. It's the movement in which a bone or a whole limb pivots or revolves around a single long axis. And lastly, we have circumduction. Picture moving your arm in a big circle. That's circumduction. It's the movement where the limb describes a cone shape. Now let's try these movements together. Feel how your body moves and bends. Isn't it amazing what our bodies can do? Congratulations, you've just performed a beautiful body ballet. So, are you ready to put your newfound knowledge to the test? Let's recap what we've learned today. We've delved into the fascinating world of anatomical vocabulary, discovering the language of the body. We've navigated the planes and axes of rotation, understanding how our bodies move and twist. And we've explored the 6 types of anatomical movements, from flexing to extending, and everything in between. Remember, your body is a beautiful puzzle, and each piece is essential. Keep exploring, keep learning, and keep moving. Keep